The veteran, Frank, is celebrating his retirement with his family when suddenly a team of armed personnel storms into the house, pointing their guns at his family's heads. Frank is devastated. Everything stems from a mission he secretly carried out months ago, during which, unknowingly, they execute a hostage named Zubair. Afterward, certain people, wanting to cover up the truth, seek to eliminate anyone involved. Commander Williams sends them on a new mission, but it is clear that it is a suicide mission. Frank protests,
I think if we do this, men are gonna die.
But William assures him they have reliable intelligence, and Frank should not question it.
Last I checked, neither of you were in command.
That night, their team is ambushed. There are too many enemies. Captain Anderson loses an arm in a desperate bid to survive.
I'm gonna get you home, sir. I'm gonna get you home.
Frank rushes forward, attacking with both firearms and his bare hands, single-handedly destroying the enemy squad. When the team returns to base, William shows no concern for the casualties and instead asks,
"Did you kill the target?"
This drives Frank insane. In a fit of rage, he smashed one of his eyes. As a result, he suffered the retribution, lost his family. He is now known as the Punisher, and his primary goal is to eliminate everyone involved in his family's death. He thinks he has completed his mission and is ready to start a new life, so he burns his Punisher armor. However, what he doesn't know is that this is just what he believes. 6 months later, Frank works as a construction worker, channeling his anger by tearing down walls. Frank lives in a small room, always feeling as if his wife will be there with him. A colleague named Lance approaches him, complaining that Frank is tearing down walls too fast and that they're not getting overtime pay.
You do? That's hurting us. Because of you, we're getting less overtime.
But Frank manages to control his emotions. Donnie approaches and offers Frank a sandwich. Not liking how the workers ruined Frank's food, Frank thanks him for the gesture. Donnie learns that Frank is a Marine and shares that his own father was in the military as well, but when he was a child, his family was killed. Frank realizes how much they have in common and tells Donnie not to seek him out as a friend after work.
I'm not looking for a pal, yeah? Whatever it is you're looking for, I'm not it.
Later, Frank spends time with a group of other military veterans suffering from PTSD. He reconnects with Curtis, an old friend. Curtis urges Frank to start over. He managed to get revenge for his family.
You got half a life left to live, my friend. If you don't, you might as well be dead.
But for Frank, the loss was too much. The next day at work, Frank overhears a conversation about an upcoming robbery. Lance isn't keen on the idea, but they have to rob a gang. However, Paulie believes they'll succeed. They notice their conversation is being eavesdropped on. Frank ignores them and tries to leave, but Lance orders him to stop.
Yeah, you better stay out of my way. That hammer's gonna find a new home up your ass.
Suddenly, an accident happens on the construction site, delaying their robbery. They ask Frank for help, but Frank just walks away. Later, Lance and Paulie invite Donnie to join their gang, but they don't explain what it involves. He agrees. Hours later, the three of them break into a Mafia-owned casino. After taking down the guards, they storm into the basement, pull out their guns, and take everyone hostage. Donnie starts collecting money, but disaster strikes when his wallet slips and his identity is exposed.
Shit. You really screwed this up, Donald.
Now the mob knows who Donnie is, and they can easily track him down. The heist is a bust. Lance and Paulie are furious that Donnie messed things up, and they beat him up without hesitation. Realizing the mob will eventually come for them, they decide to kill Donnie so he can't turn them in. Donnie tries to fight back, but the three of them overpower him and throw him into a cement mixer. But then Frank arrives. He demands they turn off the cement mixer. When Lance refuses, a fight breaks out. Frank, wielding a sledgehammer, takes them down one by one. Each blow to the head incapacitates them as Frank tosses them into the concrete mixture. Lance begs for mercy and offers cash. Frank remains unmoved. Instead, he tortures Lance to reveal the location of the casino they robbed. Once he gets the information, he coldly ends Lance. In the chaos, Donnie manages to escape using the rope that Frank had thrown down. Meanwhile, the Mafia, preparing to hunt down Donnie, is caught off guard when the lights suddenly go out. Gunshots are heard, and when the Mafia boss returns to the room, he is shocked to find everyone on the floor lifeless. Frank emerges from the shadows, quickly ends the Mafia boss with one shot. Frank is victorious, but what he doesn't realize is that he may have been caught on camera while eating breakfast. The phone rings, and someone asks to speak with Frank. The man introduces himself as Micro. He calls out Frank's name, revealing that he knows Frank is still alive. Micro assures Frank that they are not enemies. He is the one who gave Frank the DVD containing a video contained footage of undercover agent Zubair being murdered by the US military.
You need to understand first. You need to really know why you can't kill me. Then we can meet.
As he leaves the cafe, he notices blinding lights coming from a nearby building. Frank quickly climbs to the rooftop but finds no one. After investigating, he discovers a mirror and a flashlight beam. There is also a phone left behind by Micro, used for communication. As Frank searches the area, he sees Micro waving from the rooftop of a neighboring building. Frank visits his friend Curtis, a former Navy medic turned insurance salesman and the only person who knows he's still alive. Frank opens up about the situation with a Micro, revealing that Micro claims to have the answers Frank needs. Micro's sudden reappearance in his life makes Frank question whether his family died because of his own mistakes.
Come on, Frank. Come on, you didn't kill your family.
What if I did?
Now, Frank believes that Micro may hold the key to unraveling these mysteries. In his search for more information about Micro, Frank turns to his trusted friend and lawyer, Karen Page. He briefly explains who Micro is and asks for her help in locating this mysterious figure. Micro hints that he is not the only ghost in New York, implying that he too faked his own death. Armed with Micro's name, Frank tracks down his address and makes a plan. He deliberately stands in front of Micro's wife, Sarah's car, pretending to be injured. To make the wound seem more realistic, he uses a razor to cut his forehead. Visibly disturbed, Sarah invites him into the house to treat the wound. During their conversation, Sarah explains the cause of her husband's death.
David died doing something very brave. You know, I'm proud of him for what he did.
Unbeknownst to her, Micro has hidden cameras installed throughout the house to monitor his family. After witnessing Frank and Sarah together, Micro becomes frantic.
No, Castle, you asshole!
He suspects that his wife's life is in danger. He rushes back home and waits outside. Noticing that the garage door is broken, Frank helps fix. Frank offers assistance, allowing Micro to retreat to his hideout without exposing himself. Later that night, Frank shaves his beard and changes his gait to avoid being identified by gait recognition technology, ensuring that Micro does not learn of his whereabouts. Frank secretly infiltrates Carson Wolf's residence, confronts him, beats him, and ties him to a chair to question him about Micro. Wolf reveals that Micro is a traitor, which is why he was targeted. Frank is unsatisfied with this answer and shoots Wolf in the thigh. Frank asks if Wolf is connected to Schoonover, but Wolf denies any involvement. Despite his injuries, Wolf manages to break free, seizing Frank's gun and unmasking him. At that moment, Wolf realizes that Frank is still alive. Facing Frank, Wolf reveals the sinister motive behind the murder of Frank's family. Their goal was to eliminate Frank and use more bodies to cover up the truth.
We figured if there were enough dead bodies, nobody would really care to look close enough at any given one of them.
When asked why they wanted to kill him, Wolf claims it was because they believed Frank had leaked the tapes to Micro. In a tense moment, Wolf tries to shoot Frank, only to discover that Frank has emptied the gun. Seizing the opportunity, Frank regains control, punches Wolf hard, and ultimately snaps his neck, ending him. The next day, Frank sits in a small diner when he receives a call from Micro. Micro's first question is why Frank came to his house. Frank answers that Micro chose to deal with the wrong person, putting his family in danger. Frank issues a stern warning, instructing Micro to meet him at a cemetery. When Micro arrives at the designated location, he encounters Curtis. Curtis does not deliver the message from Frank, instead warning Micro that if he continues to track Frank, Frank will retaliate by going after Sarah. Frustrated, Micro returns to his hideout, only to be startled when Frank appears from the trunk of his car. Micro watches as Frank knocks him unconscious. When he wakes up, Micro begins recounting the tragic events of the day he encountered Carson Wolf and his men. Sensing trouble, Micro tells his family to stay in the car no matter what, as Wolf and his men are closing in. Micro leaves the car, hoping to avoid confrontation. However, Wolf catches up with him by the river. To clear his name, Micro loudly insists that the authorities have the wrong information. He emphasizes that he is just an analyst, not a criminal. Wolf ignores Micro's pleas and continues to threaten him.
I'm an NSA analyst!
Micro's wife, Sarah, arrives at the scene only to see her husband shot by Wolf, falling into the river. Miraculously, the bullet hits the phone in Micro's shirt pocket, saving his life. Micro continues to detail the events that had led to him becoming a target of the Department of Homeland Security. In a revealing flashback, Micro reveals that he received a CD containing footage of Ed Zubair's murder. As an analyst, he felt it was necessary to assess the content and realize the severity of the situation. Micro decided to take action, sending the incriminating material to Agent Dina Madani, who was handling the investigation into the Cerberus operation. This decision made him a target of the Department of Homeland Security, especially Carson Wolf, who was well aware of the murder. Now, Frank interrogates Micro, who is tied to a chair without any clothes. Unexpectedly, a 3-minute countdown begins. Micro reveals that it's a fail-safe system. If the countdown reaches 0, all the camera footage will be broadcast to the media.
You see, if I don't enter a code, then all these video feeds that get sent to various media outlets and the whole world knows that you're still alive.
To stop it, a password and retinal scan are required. Since Frank is standing nearby, Micro seizes the opportunity to inject Frank with a sedative, rendering him unconscious. When Frank wakes up, he realizes that Micro did not end him, and he questions Micro's motives. In response, Micro attempts to convince him that they should join forces to expose the people behind Zubair's death and the murder of Frank's family.
I don't do partners.
Get over yourself.
Frank begins to recall the painful events during their mission in Afghanistan, named Cerberus. Frank's team captured Zubair, and a CIA agent named William tortured him brutally to learn about their heroin operations. The conversation was conducted in Persian, and it was clear that none of the team members knew that Zubair was innocent or that William was involved in drug trafficking. Unfortunately, William ordered Frank to shoot Zubair and bury him, and Frank dutifully followed the command. From the start, Frank suspected that the mission was a trap, but his concerns were dismissed. The mission soon turned into a disaster. Now, Micro reveals to Frank that the operation he was involved in was conducted entirely in secret. It lacked any official records or approval from the US Congress, making it illegal.
It's totally off the books. You know what that means?
It turns you into a hitman, Frank.
Frank agrees to cooperate with Micro, but with one condition: all targets must be eliminated without exception, or they will lose their chance for trial.
Every single one of them, no trials. No bullshit. They die.
Micro agrees to Frank's terms to carry out their plan. Frank and Micro need weapons. Micro hacks into the NYPD system and discovers a batch of illegal weapons shipped from Greece, with Turkey as the buyer. Once the shipment reaches its destination, they decide to ambush another gang. After taking down several gang members and rescuing a victim in a standoff, Frank and Micro split into two vehicles to leave the warehouse. Frank points a gun at Tech, demanding to know where the weapons are. However, Tech sabotages Frank's plan, revealing that the Greeks are selling the trucks to another buyer who wants to purchase the entire stock. The only thing Tech can offer is a pink gun, which was originally intended as a gift for the gang leader's daughter. Frank, disheartened, returns to his hideout, where he begins cleaning Micro's handgun and the pink gun. Meanwhile, Dina's team receives the news, and her colleague Sam outlines their main mission. They will pose as criminal buyers to steal the weapons from the Greeks. As night falls, Micro uses his hacking skills to pinpoint the new location of the weapons. The mission begins, with Dina leading one vehicle to track the truck, while Sam and the other officers wait at the destination. Suddenly, their communication system is sabotaged, and a song begins playing in the background. Unable to communicate via their radios, Dina calls Sam, urging him to focus. She quickly realizes they are being deceived. When she notices that the truck has passed the same spot for the third time,
it's a loop. Someone's feeding us a goddamn loop.
Frank takes control of the truck and instructs Micro to drive it to the hideout, while he follows in another vehicle. Meanwhile, Dina refuses to give up this mission. She heads to the location and catches up with Frank's vehicle. As she continues following the truck, Frank blocks her path to prevent her from chasing it. A high-speed chase ensues between Frank and Dina, and ultimately, Dina skillfully evades Frank's sight and appears directly in front of his car. Both Frank and Dina accelerate, preparing for a confrontation. Unfortunately, Micro crashes into Dina's car, causing an accident. Frank pulls her from the wreckage and places her on the road, away from the burning car. As he reads her ID, Dina asks Frank if he killed Wolf. Frank confirms this.
Stay out of my way, Madani.
He then leaves the scene. Frank now has the weapons, but he still doesn't know William's true identity. To uncover this information, he decides to approach Gunnar Henderson, the man who recorded the Zubair is murder. Like Frank and Micro, Gunnar leads a solitary life to avoid drawing William's attention. Frank finds Gunnar in a forest, and as he explores the area, he is unexpectedly struck by an arrow from Gunnar. After pulling out the arrow, Frank hides behind a tree, repeatedly claiming that he is a friend, not an enemy. When Gunnar approaches, Frank surrenders and reveals how he lost his family because of Gunnar's video. Gunnar recognizes his former colleague and agrees to talk. When asked about William's identity, Gunnar reveals that he doesn't know William's true identity. During their conversation, both hear a helicopter approaching, and soon soldiers arrive in the forest. William is overseeing the mission. Using the helmet cameras worn by each soldier, it becomes clear that since becoming deputy director of the CIA, William has been trying to erase his suspicious past. To achieve this, he plans to eliminate everyone who witnessed Zubair's murder. Since this mission was not officially approved, there is no record of the personnel involved. However, he has managed to overhear Dina and Sam's conversation, which mentions Gunnar. To eliminate any potential witnesses, William sends his team to end Gunnar. As the soldiers approach, Gunnar skillfully uses his compound bow and traps to injure several of them. Frank then finishes the job. Meanwhile, William observes through the SIS helmet cameras, shocked to see that Frank is still alive after the confrontation. Gunnar is shot twice. When Frank tries to retaliate, he too finds himself out of bullets. Both take a cover behind a rock as more soldiers close in. Micro uses a drone to monitor the situation, warning Frank of the approaching threat. Under Micro's guidance, they manage to take down 2 of the advancing soldiers with their guns. Frank targets more soldiers, finally stabbing the last one in the shoulder. As he silences the soldier, Frank uses the camera to threaten William, saying that he's coming for him.
Wherever you are, I'm coming for you.
After delivering this message, Frank snaps the soldier's neck. The attack fails, but as night falls, both Frank and Gunnar are severely injured. Frank continues to stagger through the prison, supporting the wounded Gunnar. Eventually, he's too badly injured and he collapses. Micro finds Frank, tends to his wounds, and transports him out of the forest in a van. Frank is unconscious for a long time. When he wakes up, Micro has already treated his injuries. Micro reveals that he has been listening to radio transmissions all day. Someone has been broadcasting Frank's name, calling him Raven, a code name used by Frank's friend Billy.
Come in, Raven. Raven, this is Blackbird. Blackbird to Raven.
While Micro is worried that Billy might know if Frank is still alive, Frank believes Billy does not. Either way, Frank thinks it's something they shouldn't worry about. Even if Billy does find out, Frank sees him as a close friend and believes they will protect each other no matter what. Meanwhile, Dina visits the site where Gunnar was killed. Before leaving, Micro has notified the local authorities to ensure Gunnar's body will be found. While the soldiers' bodies have been removed by the mortuary, Dina pieces together the events and begins suspecting that Frank and Gunnar were together, most likely with Frank being the one who alerted the authorities.
Marines never leave a man behind.
And you think Hassel was the other guy?
When Sam tells her that blood found in the area matches Frank's DNA, her suspicions are confirmed. Now, Dina is certain that the people trying to cover up the Cerberus mission have sent an execution team. She realizes the situation is more dangerous than she initially thought, as influential people with the power to deploy such a team are involved. To learn more about Frank, Dina contacts Frank's friend Billy Russo, who owns a private military company. She tells him that Frank is still alive, but in critical condition. Because Billy knows about the Afghanistan case Dina is investigating, she asked for his help in locating Frank, the key witness to those events. Billy, familiar with the situation, expresses his willingness to help find Frank. If Dina's story is true, Billy then visits their mutual friend Curtis, asking for Frank's whereabouts. Curtis pretends to know nothing. Billy then reveals that he plans to help Frank, not the government, to escape the country, giving him a new identity to live a peaceful life.
I failed him once before. Now is my chance to make things right.
After Billy leaves, Curtis visits Frank and shares the details of his meeting with Billy. Curtis now believes Frank should accept Billy's offer, seeing it as an opportunity for Frank to escape the imminent threat from William and lead a normal life again. The next day, Frank and Billy reunite by the river for a conversation. After a long separation, Billy shares details about his company and recounts his meeting with Dina. She is curious about what Frank knows, but Billy isn't sure. In response, Frank reveals the entire story of William, Schoonover, and Bennett trafficking heroin out of Afghanistan, hidden inside the bodies of fallen soldiers. As a true friend, Billy suggests that Frank let Dina continue her investigation, emphasizing that she and Frank share a common goal: to bring the criminals to justice. Before parting ways, Billy offers to help Frank escape the city by boat and says he will wait for him.
Let me get you out the city, Frankie. But you're still my brother. I got you.
That night, Micro patiently waits in his hideout. Meanwhile, Frank arrives at Micro's house to apologize to Sarah for missing dinner. As Sarah confides in Frank about the challenges she faces without David, Frank comforts and encourages her. Micro watches this from his hideout, feeling sorry that he isn't there to support his family during this difficult time. As night falls, Billy waits at the harbor for Frank to show up, but Frank never arrives. Disheartened, Billy returns to his car and tells his partner that Frank won't be coming. To his surprise, the so-called friend turns out to be William. Billy is found to be connected to William and is eager to eliminate Frank as soon as possible. The next day, Colonel Bennett, known for trafficking drugs in the bodies of soldiers, discovers that his dinner plans have been interrupted by Frank's unexpected visit. Frank confronts Bennett to gather information on William's identity and pressures him for answers. However, Frank's interrogation is merely a distraction while Micro clones Bennett's phone. Meanwhile, Billy, knowing Frank will come for Bennett, stands outside with his team. As Frank approaches, he skillfully infiltrates the building. Micro, monitoring the situation via drone, alerts Frank to the impending threat. Frank takes strategic action by releasing gas into the area to confuse the mercenaries, making it harder for them to aim accurately. When they enter the room, Frank takes them down one by one. Billy's face is covered, so Frank can't recognize him. In an attempt to to eliminate Frank, Billy accidentally targets one of his own men, giving Frank the opportunity to escape. Once the phone cloning is complete, Micro can track Bennett's movements and communications. Both Frank and Micro had known that William would send people to Bennett's house, so they had already outsmarted him.
From now on, I'm taking out every single one of them.
The next day, Billy angrily escorts Bennett to William's safe house. Bennett questions the accomplices, who use him as bait to lure Frank out. When asked, Bennett assures William that he hasn't revealed any information to Frank. Realizing that Bennett's life is in danger, William decides it's time for Bennett to retire. They begin planning to help Bennett move to another country, ensuring Frank can't track him down. As part of the plan, Bennett is instructed to leave his phone at the safe house, with Billy accompanying him, while Micro monitors the phone's location and extracts key information about the safe house. Meanwhile, Dina is investigating the case at the office. When she suddenly realizes something, she confides in Sam, expressing her belief that the office is being bugged and connecting the dots. She points out that after they discussed Gunner's case in the Olds, he was dead the next day. Suspecting something is wrong, she begins searching the work area for any surveillance equipment and confirms her fears. Dina discovers a hidden bug on one of her shelves. Though she finds the device, she chooses not to remove it. Meanwhile, Billy drives Bennett to a remote northern motel. In a moment of confession, Bennett admits to Billy that he has never liked him or any of his Special Forces comrades. As they talk, Bennett discovers a horrifying surprise. The body of the woman he had been with the previous night lies under the bed. Realizing he has been set up, Bennett reaches for a gun, but the next moment, on the other side, Frank arrives outside the safe house, aiming at William. However, his shot is blocked by bulletproof glass, and William survives despite the failed attack. Frank learns the true identity of his target, William Rollins, the head of a CIA covert operation. The next day, Micro's house experiences a camera malfunction, prompting Frank to check and ensure everything is in order. It appears that Sarah has intentionally turned off the internet at home to teach her son a lesson. Frank confirms that the situation is under control and prepares to leave. However, when they hug to say goodbye, things take an unexpected turn. When Sarah tries to kiss Frank, he is caught off guard and stops her advance, creating an awkward moment between them.
Can this not be weird? I think I had a moment.
Micro, watching through a camera, witnesses this unexpected kiss, which creates an uncomfortable tension between him and Frank. Although Micro feels uneasy, he realizes it isn't Frank's fault and holds no resentment. He is eager to reunite with his wife and suggests contacting Dina, who is working to arrest the same criminal with video evidence. If Dina can arrest William, Micro can return to his family.
Key, we give that to Madani. She arrests Rollins.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
I go home. Boom.
However, Frank firmly reminds Micro of their agreement. William must die. Finally, Micro loses control. Desperately trying to contact Dina, he is stopped by Frank, who intervenes and knocks him unconscious. Meanwhile, Dina and Sam have developed a plan to expose the person behind the office bugging. They create a fake tactical plan, pretending to rob Frank. Clearly, Frank will not be present, but their plan will lure the people responsible for the bugging. As expected, Billy falls into the trap and meets with William to discuss their next move. They decide to eliminate Frank on the spot. To carry out the job, Billy recruits former contractors from his company, offering a large sum of money as bait for successfully executing the murder. As Dina predicted, Billy and his team walk right into the trap. A fierce gunfight breaks out between Homeland Security and Billy's team, with Dina and Sam present to arrest those responsible for the office bugging. The confrontation leads to the loss of most members from both groups. Realizing the chaos is escalating, Billy attempts to escape. To prevent exposure, he shoots and ends one of his own men. As he flees, Sam blocks his path, pointing a gun at him. With nowhere to go, Billy surrenders and Sam disarms him. However, in a shocking twist, Billy seizes the opportunity, using a spring-loaded blade hidden in his right sleeve to repeatedly stab Sam. Before Dina can arrive, Billy manages to escape, leaving Sam, whose throat has been slit, lying on the ground. Despite Dina's best efforts to save him, Sam lost his life.